And
Yeah.
and you've sold some through Etsy in the past.
I've always sold on Etsy. It's
Okay.
not crazy. And I had maybe 1 or 2 years where I did really well. But
Yeah.
Etsy has become a monolith. To be found, you have to be at the top of the heap. I don't pay to advertise. I've tried it, and I end up spending as much money as I make. And there's so much $5 necklaces from China. It's really hard to. There's just you can't compete with that.
A lot of like mass-produced items that are getting kind of passed down as special and unique, and maybe it's hard for people to differentiate in that kind of format. Ultimately, for controlling your own destiny, the best thing in the world is to cut out the middleman. The middleman being big tech. Google, Amazon, Etsy. Etsy is big tech. If you can have a relationship directly with your customers through your website, where no one is moderating that relationship, no one is filtering that relationship, that is the gold standard. Because then, in a sense, you own your customer and no one can disrupt that. As long as you keep being you and they keep loving you, sky's the limit. Full disclosure, have never done anything with Etsy. Probably the lead subject line of this video is going to be about Etsy, but it's probably not going to be about how to sell on Etsy. It's going to be how to break free from Etsy, because there's going to be a lot of people in your exact position where Etsy is not working for them at all, or not ideally, or they could really do well to kind of break out of that platform, but they don't know how to do it and they feel kind of beholden to that. Hi, I'm Greg. I've got over 20 years of entrepreneurial experience tackling tough business and marketing problems. Nothing thrills me more than helping good people do great things. Join along as I attempt to solve or resolve my guests' thorniest business quandaries, while also unearthing the hidden techniques behind the art of the solve. Tell me briefly the history of the business, like how you got to where you are today.
Well, I was a fine art photographer for many years. I worked for another fine art photographer, and he taught me the business of photography restoration. And then I started my own business. I was in the fine art world for probably 10 or 15 years. Found it at the end a little bit stifling and frustrating, not at all financially viable. I took a break from making photographs. I started playing with tintypes, actually, making small photographs of mine on tin. Kind of got interested in this idea of creating more of an object rather than this big black and white piece of fine art. I started making them into jewelry, and then I kept going. And I had a moment where I thought what I really wanted to be making in the world was something that was joyful for me and that brought joy to women, specifically to women. I was at a store and I saw this group of women around this jewelry stand, and their daughter, there were little kids, there were the mothers, it was like a bunch of butterflies gathered around like something with sweet nectar, and it was the most lovely thing. And I thought, what I do, I want to have that effect. I taught myself how to make jewelry. As I started putting it out into the world, I immediately felt that effect. So it was a big shift, and I never looked back.
Compared to the arc of what you've been through the business, are you in a place, how would you describe? Satisfied, not satisfied, want to grow a little, want to grow a lot? Where would you place yourself in there?
I want to grow, so I'm not satisfied. I want to do less physical work. Street fairs are really hard on you. And then I've pulled out of a lot of the stores that carried my jewelry because a lot of them were doing consignment, and it just bogged me down. So my desire is to just be able to be in my studio, make jewelry, and sell jewelry out of my studio.
So biggest challenge so far?
For me, it's the marketing. I feel like I'm bothering people. Part of me wants to go big because I love what I do. My natural personality is like, don't call attention to yourself and don't bug people unless they want something.
Yeah, the website is absolutely beautiful. It's highlighting the subject matter. The jewelry looks amazing. Photography is amazing. And it's not overdone in any way. It's like super classy and it absolutely fits your brand really well.
Instagram is my social media of choice. I think I have 425 followers.
You have something which is pretty fully formed. You just need a bigger following. This is very deep where this is coming from inside of you. How do we get you known by more?
Yes.
Yeah. Which is, of course, very hard. It's like you have a pile of kindling. And if we find the right match, it'll just go. Right?
Yeah.
Have you ever taught what you do? Have you ever shown the craft and that kind of thing?
Yes. In fact, I teach. I teach now. I teach at the Richmond Art Center.
And so that you enjoy that and that you have a lot of creative juice for that as well?
I do enjoy that.
Do you find some of your followers, even some of your customers, come through your teaching?
Yes. I've actually sold to students many times.
All right. Are you ready? So
Yeah.
we've come to the $64,000 question. If you had to put it in one sentence that we wanted to try to solve or resolve, what is your question?
How to grow my sales from my seat right here.
Do you have any final thoughts or questions?
How do you market yourself successfully as yourself?
Hey, just a super quick break from our content, I promise. Do you have a burning business development or marketing problem that you need to solve or resolve? I'd love to hear it, and maybe you can be the star of our next episode. See instructions below in the description. Also, just a reminder to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. Okay, that was a great interview with Kristin. We learned a lot. Now let's get into Kristin's solve. Clearly, Kristin is a talented artist with great entrepreneurial potential. She's established an amazing base with Moon and Leaf. I believe with the right accelerant, her business can grow dramatically. So what's Kristin's goal? She says she wants to grow. I think she needs to grow about 1,000%. Now that is an ambitious goal, but compared to the size of her potential market, I think it's doable. First, let's look at her strengths. Kristin knows herself and her customer. She's created a product offering which is polished, unique, and deeply personal. She has already found her tribe and her vibe. And via Instagram and her website, she's already successfully generating sales. She's experienced with customer service, so she knows what she's getting herself into on that side of the business. And she's also established herself as a teacher in her local area. So she knows both what's involved in that and also the benefits she receives from that. For an artist who wants to do well commercially, getting all the things in place that Kristin already has is very difficult. So she's got a really fantastic base to grow her business from. Okay, so what are some of her challenges? Her greatest challenge is getting more exposure and traffic to her brand. Etsy and marketplaces are not working very well for her, just as they aren't working that well for most artists these days. Also, buying a lot of traffic via advertising on search engines, or even trying to get a lot of traffic organically from search engines by building a lot of pages on your website, that also is going to be a really steep uphill challenge. So what is the solution for Kristin? I think she gave us the answer to that in her interview. But before we get to that, I first just want to say one important side note here. In Kristin's interview, she mentioned that there's a lot of things that she'd seen online about how to bring more traffic and exposure to her website, which just did not seem authentic to her. Silly stuff, or stuff that's just pure drudgery. All that is not going to be necessary. That what we want to find for Kristin is a solution where she can be authentically herself and grow her brand in a very natural, organic way that is real. Okay, Kristin's solution. Kristin said that she loves to teach and she's already established herself as a teacher locally, and that her students are some of her best customers and followers. That is the key insight. If she can expand her teaching, she should also be able to expand her business in the same proportions. Now, what is the way to teach and have it reach many, many more people? Well, the answer to that, if you've not figured it out already, is YouTube. In case you were wondering, it's not lost on me that the first person I've interviewed for this channel, the solution I'm suggesting for them is to start another YouTube channel. But I'm almost certain that's not always going to be the case. And I am certain that this is the very best thing that Kristin could do. So the solution for Kristin seems obvious, at least to me. But knowing the path is not the same as walking the path. And I think for Kristin to feel a level of confidence that she can actually walk this path, she's going to need to see some examples of other artists on YouTube who are achieving their goals, and something that she could not copy, of course, because she'll do it in her own unique flavor, but something that she could emulate and get inspiration from to give this a try herself. So let's take a look and see what we can find. How to make jewelry. All right, that sounds good. What do we got here? Okay, no. Maybe. This looks good. Yeah, this looks really good. Can already see the vibe is very similar to Kristin. The art of metalsmithing. Let's check this out further. 87,400 subscribers. Links to her shop. Selling directly jewelry off her YouTube page. Check. Let's see how the overall vibe is.
Hi, how are you? I thought today might be a good day to tell you a bit more about how I started making jewelry. Many of you asked me this question, so brace yourselves. Today I'll tell you all about it.
I could totally see Kristin doing something like this.
I used to make jewelry when I was smaller and as a teenager. I liked creating my own necklaces and...
Looks promising. Let's dig a little bit deeper and take a look at her channel. Okay, her channel looks really nice. 106 videos on metalsmithing, so that would probably be the core video category that Kristin would start with. Studio vlogs. I assume these are just videos not necessarily narrated, but where she's demonstrating techniques without talking. Jewelry business, so she's got some content for how to do a jewelry business. I'm not sure if that's something that Kristin is currently offering in her teaching, but something that she certainly could, and as she grows her own business, something that she may want to offer. Make dainty rings. So this is very specialized. She's got some very specialized playlists. But overall, the content looks very much what I would expect it to be, and very much along the lines of something I think Kristin could absolutely produce. Okay, let's take a closer look at the business model behind this channel. First thing that jumps out at me is 5.5 million views. That's a pretty good number of views. Probably a significant source of revenue, the ad revenue from that for this channel, but probably not the primary source of revenue. Also see here that she is linked to her website and shop, Patreon, and Instagram. Let's take a deeper look at those. Okay, we're here on the Patreon account, and I see that she has 125 patrons with a $1 support level and a $5 support level monthly. So probably not a major source of revenue for this channel, but maybe something she's hoping to grow. Very nicely done website, very nicely presented. But, as we saw in Kristin's interview, her website is already at this level, and that's really the good news for Kristin, that she just needs to grow her following, and then she can drive people to the website and should be able to sell at much greater numbers than she is currently. Let's take a deeper look at her products. Okay, see, we've got butterfly wing necklace, $181 for sale. Very nice looking piece. Alpaca charm, small piece, $45. Earrings, $64. Alpaca earrings, $59. So what I can see right away is her price points, although not cheap, they are at a level where my expectation would be is that she is designing this jewelry and then actually having it produced by, I would assume, ethically produced by small shops around the world. Instagram, 20,500 followers. That's a great number. Much larger than the number that we'd have as our big goal to get Kristin to initially. So seems to be very doable by putting out content in this area. And also, I was expecting this number to be quite a bit larger based on the number of YouTube subscribers that she has. So my expectation would be that probably this channel hasn't had as much focus, or possibly was started later than the YouTube channel. But either way, still a very encouraging sign. After doing a little more research, in addition to the great example of the art of metalsmithing, I found several other really good examples. And I've seen enough. I think the pathway is open to Kristin, and her destiny awaits on YouTube. I am so excited to bring this research back to Kristin and see what she thinks about it. But before we do that, I just wanted to say one more thing to Kristin and any other artist who's aspiring to grow the business around their art and thinking about doing it on YouTube, or really anywhere, but in relation to YouTube in particular. The last hurdle that you have to overcome is the feeling of, if Kristin, if you've seen this and you believe that this is something that you can do, because I know you can, and you've seen the examples and they clearly show in your own flavor this is something that you could do. The last hurdle for many people is this feeling of, well, it's already been done. Someone's already doing it, or these other people are already doing it. And it really is just a hurdle because it's not real, especially in a creative space like jewelry making. There is room for everybody, or creating creative material around jewelry making. There is room for everybody who's dedicated enough to produce quality content on a regular basis. And that really is the key. It's kind of putting aside that feeling of like, what do I have to add? And just trusting that you do. You have something very significant to add, something which will be unique and special to your tribe who loves your vibe. And those may be some people who already are a part of another tribe. And, tribe people can go between tribes and be shared between tribes. And YouTube is growing. It really is still really growing. There's still a generational change happening. And that is a vibrant place that is growing. And if you just get out there and start somewhere, make it good, but then grow it to great as far as finding your voice and finding exactly how you want to produce it and what works, and you just stick to it, you will be successful.
Okay, so I'm going to be a YouTube star.
Yeah. I mean, I can totally see it.
Oh, no.
Can you feel it? In your teaching, people probably really respond to you personally, and having that personal connection with them.
Uh-huh.
It's the same. It just becomes one to many instead of one to one, or one to, a small group. So let me ask you, have you ever thought about or considered a pathway like this before?
No.
I can totally see it for you. I mean, I think it's something obviously you have to be able to feel for yourself. And it takes just like anything, just like the practicing of your craft. But like I said in the video, I think it's the one place where I see all the connections come together with you in a very natural way. I think YouTube is ready. 5 years ago, no. A lot of the viewership on YouTube is still younger people with the meme videos, etc. But a lot is also, we saw like the numbers that the art of metalsmithing is drawing. And then there's a lot of other good examples where you can draw just by doing your thing, just turning the camera on inside the studio and kind of doing your thing and sharing yourself. You can bring a level of exposure to your business, and also help a number, the same way you get the enjoyment and the fulfillment out of teaching, that you can really just take that in a microcosm and turn it into a macrocosm. So you need some time to take this in, I think. which is totally fine.
So I have an interesting block,
Yeah.
which is that, and maybe that's where I start.
Yeah.
And you actually said it in a way at the end. You said, we often think that it's already been done. Yeah. And so what comes up for me is I don't have that, like, what do I have that's that significant to share? And I even will feel like that in my classes. And I try my best not to listen to that voice, but I taught myself all this stuff. So I think I feel like, because I just take it for granted that I do it, I'm like, well, it's not that hard. Like, you could probably all go home and figure it out yourself.
Well, let me ask you, can you easily off the top of your head think of 3 people that you know you've touched their lives and made a difference in their lives through, however it is, through the Instagram, through the classes? I'm not saying like you were the single factor and absolutely said, but that it's like it put a smile in their day instead of, it brought some brightness or some light to their day, or they picked up a skill that they really treasure now and they made a nice thing for their loved one, or they got a nice, or maybe they're getting more serious about themselves. Can you easily think of 3 people that you've done that for?
I can think of 2 people that, because it's recent, because I'm seeing them in my class, that they're happy. I don't have to be like changing the world. I could just be offering like some knowledge.
Yeah.
As a contribution. It doesn't have to be like, if I can't change your life with it, it's not worth it.
I mean, you've already faced your greatest pressure, right?
Yeah.
Because people are showing up, they paid a fee, they're in there, they're giving a lot of their time, right? And boom, you have an expectation to fulfill. On YouTube, they'll just see the thumbnail and they'll click on it or they won't. I think you and I are very similar in some ways in that this isn't something like we would naturally gravitate towards, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've put in the work, right? You've got this base. You've got this offering. It's so deeply felt. It's so deeply constructed. It's so you. It's so personal. My guess would be if you have the desire and the feeling to go in this direction, that the number of people you can touch with that, and maybe in ways that is beyond what you may be currently considering. Because when I see your offering, to me, it isn't just like, oh, there's 10,000 of these kind of things out there. What I see that you're trying to bring to people is not just the jewelry and the art, but it's a very personal part of yourself and a perspective on the world, and a flavor of spirituality, without being overtly spiritual, or, just like that people can just kind of enjoy for what it is for them, and the beauty of nature and connecting to that personally, and then bringing that through a piece, and then probably comes through, because you're doing that in your jewelry, when you teach about it, that's probably also coming in as how you take inspiration from the natural world and from your own personal spirituality and bring that through your art. There's some people who are just going to love that. I mean, guaranteed.
Well, there is a piece that it just occurred to me that I think about a lot. I feel like it is definitely something that I have to offer, which is perspective on creating and making. It's more about just the pure act of creating and going with what wants to come out of you, and not trying to be perfect or too attached to the product, but to really just be more open to the flow of creativity. And that's something that I think the world needs more of.
I mean, I can see the wheels starting to turn, right?
Yeah,
and
I feel like I need to
if once you get past the hurdle of like the part of you that's like, no way. There's no, can't do it, won't do it. Of course, you want to give yourself space to see if there's something really for you in it. Because as much as you might enjoy my enthusiasm, or even feel like you can relate to some of the things I'm saying, to really do something like this, like I was saying in the end, not that you have to know that you're committed to this for the next 10 years just to try. Because of course you can just try. You can just do simple things, just like any other endeavor in life. But but yeah, you're going to have to find that, that personal connection to that kind of that spark that, maybe that, maybe that really does make sense. But I think if it sticks with you a bit and, you start to find yourself thinking about, like I kind of sense you already are, about, what would I do if I was going to do that? Which is, that's interesting, to see those processes starting. YouTube has this whole thing about playlists, right? So you can start to like break things out into, I want to talk about the art of creation and creating. Like, I think I have something to say there. So that's maybe one avenue of little videos, right? And then I for sure would not underestimate how much just people would enjoy seeing you make your art and understanding how you do that. Like, my guess would be there's a large group of people, much larger than you can probably imagine right now, who really will enjoy your jewelry. And in the same way, the local students have that exchange with you, that can just happen on a exponentially larger scale. And then once you have your audience, then you can get even more and more kind of nuanced into things, that finding out and then seeing who are they. And YouTube can be very interactive if you want it to be. Do you feel like with what I presented, do you feel like this solves that, resolves it, and in a sense allows you to move on, or neither?
I think that it is a solution and it could potentially resolve it. I had a problem and you've given me a suggestion to address it.
Yeah.
That I think is something that never occurred to me.
Yeah.
But is actually very, how do I want to say it? It's very interesting because you're actually just suggesting that I show myself to more people.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing I have always avoided at all costs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the one thing I have often been told I should try to work on. So I think that if I were to follow this road, you might have given me the solution.
Thank you for your time today and in our earlier interview, and it's been really nice talking with you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I really appreciated it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, awesome. See you soon.
All right. Okay,
bye.
bye.
All right, bye. Thanks for tuning in. I am honored that you spent a few precious minutes of your day with me. Also, just a reminder that if you have a business development or marketing problem which you need to solve or resolve, I'd love to hear from you. See the description below for how to get in touch. Maybe you can be the star of our next episode.